I was there the day it all began, the day little Nkem laughed. You might not believe me, but those of us from Ogidi know the truth. This was no ordinary laughter. It wasn't the kind of giggle you hear when a child plays with a toy or tickles their sibling. Number, this laugh had something strange in it, something that echoed too long, that made your chest feel tight. I was a young man then, maybe 21 or 22, helping my uncle repair the roof of our compound when we first heard it. Ha, 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 ha. It came from the compound next to ours where Mama Ide lived with her only daughter Nkem. The sound pierced the quiet like a sharp stick. Even the goats looked up from their grazing, ears twitching. What kind of laugh is that? My uncle muttered, his brow furrowed. We would later say it began on that very day. Before that, Nonkem had never spoken a word, silent since birth, even though she could hear and understand. Her mother had carried her to every dibia in the land, from our village to Umuri, and even all the way to Newi. They gave her herbs, charms, incantations, nothing worked. The child wouldn't speak. Mama Ede eventually gave up, saying, "If the gods wish her to be silent, who am I to shout against it?" But then on her 9th birthday, out of nowhere, Nkem laughed. That same evening, our neighbor's only cow, the one he'd raised from a calf, collapsed and died. Nobody thought much of it. Animals die all the time, don't they? But the next day, something else happened. Our village teacher, Mr. Okafor, slipped on his front steps and broke his leg. He said he saw something like a shadow cross in front of him just before he fell. Then, not 2 days later, a young bride went missing on her way back from the stream. They found a calabash floating in the water, but no trace of her. That week, Nkem laughed again. Louder, longer. We heard it from our house. That very night, lightning struck one of the ancient Iroko trees by the shrine. That tree had stood since my grandfather's time. Elders said it was the resting place of the spirit of Ezemo, the village's first priest. It burned through the night. By now, people had begun to whisper. It was Obina, the palm wine tapper, who first said it openly at the Nkiabuo market. Every time that girl laughs, something bad happens. You people should stop pretending. The thing is, he was right. I watched it with my own eyes. How people began to treat Nkem like she carried a curse. Children would run away when they saw her coming. Women would grab their babies and hurry off the path. Even Mama Edi, proud and stern as she was, started to look tired, as if the weight of her daughter's strange gifts had settled on her shoulders like a sack of wet cassava. One day, I was sitting by the stream sharpening my machete when I heard footsteps behind me. It was Nkem. I stood up quickly, unsure of what to say. She didn't speak, just stared at me with those large, deep-set eyes. Then, as she bent to scoop water, she slipped on a rock and fell. Instinct took over. I ran to help her up. She looked startled, as if people didn't usually do that for her. When she stood, she looked me in the eyes and smiled. I don't know what came over me, but I laughed gently just once, and then she laughed too. It was softer this time, not sharp, almost human. And for 3 days after that, nothing happened. No deaths, no falls, no missing goats or shattered clay pot. I told my uncle and he frowned. Maybe her laughter is only dangerous when it comes from pain, he said. But how would you test a thing like that? I didn't have an answer. Things stayed calm for a while. People began to relax again. Some even smiled at Nkem when she passed. But then one afternoon, a group of boys teased her at the village square. I wasn't there, but my cousin who saw it said they mimicked her laugh, throwing stones and calling her spirit child. Nkem didn't say anything. She didn't even cry. She just stood there, her face like carved stone. And then she laughed. By nightfall, 3 of those boys had developed fevers. One of them couldn't speak anymore, just like her. The elders gathered in the Obi house that night. It was a long, smoky meeting filled with arguments and whispers. Some said she should be sent away. Others said she was an Ogbanje, a spirit child that slipped between the worlds. But then old Mama Chinyere, the oldest woman in the village, she must have been over 90, spoke. She told us a story none of us had heard before, not even my uncle. She said, "There was a girl like Nkem many years before you were born. She laughed and bad things happened too. But the elders then learned it was not her laughter causing pain. It was the pain inside her that poisoned her joy. When her heart healed, her laugh healed too. The heart fell silent. Then she added, instead of fearing her, help her. Teach her what joy really feels like." The next morning, some of the elders came to Mama Edi's house. They apologized. Others began to drop small gifts by their doorstep. Yam, dried fish, a bar of soap. The women invited Nkem to join them at the market. The men taught her how to dance at the village festival. I made it my duty to talk to her every day to make her smile without fear. And slowly, something changed. The next time Nkem laughed, it was during Ike's wrestling match. He had been losing badly when his wrapper came loose and the whole village burst into laughter. Nkem's laugh rose above the crowd, not sharp, not strange, but free, and this time nothing bad happened. Nothing at all. After that, her laughter became a blessing. She would laugh and the rains would fall just in time. She would laugh and a woman in labor would give birth safely. She would laugh and even the sick seemed to get better. I remember the day she turned 18. The whole village gathered. There was palm wine, roasted plantain, drummers from Ogbonike, and women dancing with rattles tied to their waists. When Nkem stepped out in her white wrapper, her face shining like the morning sun, the whole village cheered. And when she laughed that day, oh brother, the wind picked up as if the gods themselves were clapping. Birds flew in patterns overhead. I remember looking around and thinking, the curse has turned into a gift. Now I'm an old man, and Nkem is married, with children of her own. She teaches them not to hide their joy, even if the world doesn't understand it. Her laughter still rings through the village, warm as roasted groundnuts and sweet as ripe pawpaw. And whenever I hear it, I smile, because I remember when the whole village feared that laugh, and I know how far we've come.